They claim they want beef like I ain't in a teed up. I turn them to vegan. I'm really a creature. She sent me to beacon.
Hey guys, that's your Arbais Legends. Welcome to the video. Sending some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need them out there today. If you're going through something out there today, just know that it can, it will, it can, it does, it get better. Today's gonna be a banger of a video because we're gonna actually, I think I just threw my shoulder out of its socket. Never get old, ladies and gentlemen. Never get old. Can't even make a motion on a damn YouTube video intro. Listen, I'm gonna go over every mythical champion that I've ever pulled. 100% free to play. 100% free to play. Go over every mythical champion, but I'm gonna do you one better. I've done like a video like this in the past, but I'm actually gonna show you the builds on the champions, including the speeds. I'm really punting any strategic ambiguity that I have in live arena against other free-to-play whales out there, right? Because I'm gonna show you everything, the speeds, the builds, and I'm gonna give you an honest ranking from 1 to 10 on all of these mythical champions. By the way, I also think that we're gonna have a Primal Shard event really soon, right? We've gotta. It's been a hot minute, and I feel like they've been throwing Primal Shards at me every damn day in this shop, like extra, like 10 times a day, extra pop-ups, if that's even possible in Raid Shadow Legends. So yeah, I think there's gonna be one of those events coming up soon. So hold on to your Primals. Man, it kills me whenever I see YouTube video. I mean, listen, who am I to judge? I don't care. Do whatever the hell you want. But it still hurts me a little bit when I see other Primal Shard videos go live. Like, dude, no, what do you think? Even if you have all the money in the world, just wait for the 2x. No? I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to go. You can still buy them, but wait. So we're going to go through the mythicals. Before I do, 10 seconds. I uploaded a video on my top 10 favorite books of all time. Not many of you watched it, and I can understand why. But if you are interested in reading, in books and literature, I started a new channel, Chapter in Ash. I probably have another video live by the time that this one goes live as well, where I'm just going to rank and talk about my favorite books of all time. Chapter in Ash, check me out. Link is in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump into it here with Mythical Champion number 1. Also, the proverbial crown jewel of my entire account. It's a +4, fully awakened, the world's strongest Alaz the Sunbearer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is talk about the champions briefly. I'm not going to read every single, we'll be here for 2 hours, right? Talk about what they do, talk about why I love them for the most part, and then I'll show you the builds as well. So, Alaz. He has, just like every mythical, 2 forms. You heard it here first, 2 forms. He has extra hit on his A1. He ignores shields. He brings his own increased defense as a defense-based champion. This Rolling Thunder is his strongest nuke by far, right? Absolutely just evaporates, especially in the arena. It hits hard everywhere. Again, defense-based nuker that brings a potential extra hit and the increased defense. He has counterattack on the entire team for 2 turns and a block damage as well for 1 turn. He also has a 2-turn provoke, making him a good provoker for Head of Decay, but a good provoker in the arena and anywhere else as well on that 2-turn, 3-turn cooldown, right? He has defense each time he counterattacks as well, so you can get that escalating damage as well. On his alternate form, which I don't use as often, but it's not bad. You convert his defense to HP vis-a-vis his passive. He becomes an HP-based damage dealer and utility healer support champion, all in one. He has a burn on his A2, and it can instantly activate under Stone Skin as well. This is actually a really cool and underrated ability. It can't be resisted on enemies under Stone Skin. I'll talk about why I like this ability so much in a moment here. He has heals and strength and increased defense on his A3. He's certainly a unique champion. It's an AoE that hits hard on his A1. Not as hard as Rolling Thunder, but pretty hard with an extra hit on enemies under the burn, which makes it a great synergy with the A2. I love Alaz the Sunbearer. I mean, he's one of my more powerful champions, and he's a beast. He's a beast. I got Polymorph on him. I have Aspect of Suroth on him, and I have Helm Smasher for a tier 6 mastery, as you guys can see. I'll give him a 9 out of 10. There's going to be a lot of high scores here. Maybe an 8.5, 9 out of 10. There's going to be a lot of high scores because, frankly, I've said this before. I think that almost every account can benefit from almost every mythical, even the crappy ones, right? Because they're really 2 legendaries, sometimes better than legendaries, combined into 1 champion. That's a lot of utility. So even the crappy ones, oftentimes I still use even on my account. I have Alaz in a very unorthodox build, right? Kind of a test phase right now. I used to have him built traditional Stone Skin and lethal, but I have a 9-piece protection because I'm trying out my Alaz in a little bit of a different way. I'm building him very fast, 389 speed. So if he goes after a turn meter booster on my team, he can actually switch forms and he can activate and pop stone skins, right? Now, obviously, that doesn't, what does that have to do with protection, right? Let me get on the second form. It doesn't have anything to do, but then he has some protected buffs, strength and increased resistance that he can bring to the team. But if we're not stripping or popping stone skin, which is normally the case, I love having the protected counterattack for 2 turns and a block damage for 1 turn, kind of like a Naime type move, right? It can be a curveball for the opponent because no one expects Alaz to be in a 9-piece freaking protection set. And the crazy thing is, because, and this is if you have any a champion on your account that you have fully awakened or empowered, you can build them to still do damage. Like, he's at 100 and 294 crit rate crit damage with 6,700 on the defense, and he freaking still smacks, right? In protection set with Helm Smasher. So it's kind of a hybrid build here, but I've actually really liked it. It's definitely annoying when you go against this Alaz in live arena, not expecting him to have the protection on the block damage and the counterattacks. Enough about Alaz. Arbais the Stonethorn. So we gave Alaz, by the way, an 8.5. Arbais the Stonethorn, I'm gonna give her also I'll give her a 9. You know, she's incredible. I don't use her as much as some others, only by circumstance, right? I don't have her fully awakened. I do have her +4 though, Arbais. And another circumstance is this banner. I don't have a lot of good speed banners and Sylvan Watchers, unfortunately. And as you guys know, when it comes to turn meter boosters, for the arena at least, you're really operating at the fastest banners that you have for that faction. That's going to really, you know, inform where you're putting your best speed gear. What does she do? An AoE block active skills, a buff removal, a revive on death, increased duration of all ally buffs, and then one of the best setups in PvP in the game, and just great everywhere. 30% turn meter boost, increase attack, increase accuracy on all allies, a beautiful bomb setup champion with the increased attack, increased accuracy, beautiful on poisons with a rack and elixir, right? And I love her passive where she's putting petrification randomly, not randomly, RNG laden, whenever an ally is attacked while under a revive on death ability. On her other form, she brings a really nice leech and a burn. She's great in Chimera. She's great in wave content. She's great in this ability is like a massive tanky move where she puts stone skin on herself with a taunt and heals the rest of the team while she's at it. I use the base form a little bit more on my account. I have her with temporal chains, but it's not the best mastery for or blessing for her, considering it's not at 6 stars. Temporal chains is one of those blessings that you really want to get, or you really love to use at 6 stars, because that's when you get that big turn meter decrease. Anyway, I have a wand on her as well, and I have her built a supersonic and 4-piece pinpoint on her. I'd rather have her just all-out speed, but I use her primarily in PvE on my account. I give her a 9 out of 10 just because I don't use her as my main speed booster. She's really insane. She's very good. Lazarius! I'm going to give Lazarius a 9.5. I'm going to give him the rank. I'll give the ranks ahead of time. Why not, right? If I have him +3 fully awakened, so he is, unlike Arbais, he is my main speed demon on my account. Now, that being said, he does have some counters out there in the meta right now because he decreases turn meter on his A3, so I always have to be careful of Marius, right? Moreover, there's a lot of force affinity creeping his way into the meta. Like, he can easily just be put down forever by an Embrys A1 on the alternate form. Nice can kill him super easily and revive the rest of the team. So I give him a 9.5 instead of a 10. Because really, in my heart, he's a 10, right? But I'm docking him a little bit because the meta, you know, has stacked up against him a little bit as of late. So how fast is the fastest turn meter booster on my account? 470 speed. That's my fastest champion on my account. Now, he could be faster. I could get him up to like 485, but I would have to sacrifice his damage. Lazarius is a tough freaking champion to build. We want him with like almost everything, right? He has buff removal, block debuffs. He has a great turn meter boost we already talked about, increase attack. He has strengthen on that team as well. He has a revival on his passive. Every time he takes a turn, he's reviving an ally. 3-turn cooldown there. He has perfect veils to protect himself, which does come in handy against an Embrys and a Nice, for example. He's a freaking beast, right? On his alternate form, he's a nuker. He does AoE damage. He has turn meter reduction, steals 50% turn meter, can't be resisted. It's a beautiful ability. And when he kills anybody, he increases the cooldown of all enemy skills by 2 turns whenever he kills anybody. That's super freaking strong. He brings his own buffs at the start of his turn as well. Increase attack, increase crit damage. So yeah, he's a stud. He's amazing. Those are the masteries I have on him. I have a mythical relic, Crown of Corruption, on him, Where it deals 5% more damage, you can see it scales up nicely, and receives 5% less damage when above 50% HP. When below, he deals less damage and receives more damage, okay? Most importantly, you get speed as the main stat. I think Crown of Corruption is one of the most powerful relics in the game. The speed is the main feature here, right? The reason I don't have him super fast is, again, he's at 98, 224. It's not a ton of damage with 5,100 on his alternate 6,100, but it's enough with his own buffs so that I can go in there and pop off a Sun Wukong or whoever has low HP and reset the cooldown. So I needed him super fast for a booster, but I also needed him to do damage, right? So I had to go crit rate on the gauntlets here. I get a really nice roll on a legendary speed glyph there. You can kind of see some of the speed gear that I have on him, which represents, in most cases, the best speed gear on my account. A lot of quad rolls there, and check out that beautiful rebirth quad roll with a +8 on the banner there as well. Siegfrund, I give Siegfrund a 10. A 10 out of 10, perfect. Now I'm grading these all these champions, like you can make a case almost all of them are 10s. They're so freaking good, right? But yeah, Siegfrund is an absolute beast. He is my speed farmer almost everywhere. He just wrecks event dungeons. This Rage of Nephilim is the hardest hitting ability in the game for my money. It just is, right? Ignore 50% of target's defense. That gives you the chance to ignore all enemy defense and has that surplus damage, which he acts as an upgrade to his Seer for my account. Like, I replaced Seer with Siegfrund everywhere, for example, you know? I mean, he's just my best nuker in the arena. I have him fully awakened, and he's an absolute just monster damage dealer, right? Wave killer, speed farm, anywhere, Centranos, anywhere I can use this dude, I'm using this dude. He's a monster. He's just the best. And then, of course, he does become a reviver when you kill everybody else except for him. The best thing about Siegfrund, too, is that he has that block damage that will block a fatal hit, so you don't have to build him in stone skin in the arena, right? It's beautiful, and it keeps him alive to give him a fighting chance to switch forms and then become an insanely good reviver. Block damage on all allies on a 4-turn AoE revive, okay. And then a big heal, a cleanse, and then this AoE on the A1, it actually hits really hard too. So he can be a nuker on his freaking reviver form. And one of the most badass designs in the game. I had to change the masteries a little bit. I have Flawless on him. I needed a little bit extra crit damage for an event dungeon. I have Cat's Gaze on him. I have Merciless and Speed on him. It's not the best build for Siegfrund, but on my Siegfrund, I use him on my fastest teams. I need him to be over 340 speed because I like to keep him in line with my Lazarius in my Starsage Galathir so that we're always going to get to him really fast. Really beast mode, still 99. Shame on that 1%. 350 crit damage, 344 on the speed, and 8,700 on the attack. For a fast Siegfrund, it's a really good stats there. He has some of my better gear. Attack, speed on the boots. Yeah, I guess pretty good gear for the most part, right? A quad crit rate, interesting speed gauntlets there, right? No speed on them. Okay, so Siegfrund is a 10 out of 10. He might be my favorite mythical champion. He's just so insanely good. Lady Mikage, I think she's a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I know I'm going high here, but you know, she's one of the most versatile mythicals in all of Raid Shadow Legends, right? Because she brings so much to the table. The decreased duration of buffs and increased buffs, decreased debuffs, and the same and the inverse on the enemies on the Silken Snare. What a powerful freaking move. I love me some Mikage. One of the best ally attacks out there in the game. Increase attack. I think there's only 3 champions that give the increase attack buff on an ally attack. Super powerful. She has the Shadowkin synergy. I mean, she's just nuts. She has so, like, you can say this about a lot of mythicals, but they even have little extra stuff, right, that you forget about sometimes. At the start of the champion's turn, removes all debuffs from the ally with the highest attack. What? So she's cleansing your nuker at all times. I mean, these little kind of almost addendums to her kit are absolutely insane and really, really powerful. On her second form, of course, she has buff removal, increased accuracy, weaken. She's fantastic against Chimera. She's a stud almost everywhere. Hydra. She's great at wave content because she has an AoE stun on a 3-turn cooldown with turn meter decrease. She got a sleep at 100% on the A1, decrease decreased turn meter. She becomes a master of manipulation, control, and debuffs, and stripping on her alternate form. Hey, look at the passive. At the start of this champion's turn, decreases the turn meter of the enemy with the highest attack by 15%. What a nice little move she has there on that other passive on her alternate form. Mikage is she's just incredible. There's the masteries. I have her with War Master. I have her with Cruelty, and I have her 6-star Awakened as well. I have Perch Shadow on her. I need to upgrade this, actually. Nah, I'm not going to do it right now. This video is already going to be long enough. And I do have her in Merciless and Reflex. This is particularly because I was using her on the build that I was using her on, the team I was using her on. She wasn't switching forms. She was only there for like a lot of ally attacks. Pump out more ally attacks. I no longer use her on this specific team anymore, so I need to change to Relentless. I think Relentless is a better kind of global build for Lady Mikage. However, Reflex and Merciless was insane. I have a 40% chance to reduce the ally attack and then a 30% chance, or the Silken Snare for that matter, right? So we were able to get back to that ally attack usually in 3 turns as kind of a standard, right? So I like this build, but it's not my favorite on her anymore. She's fast, but not super fast at 307 speed. A little bit of damage there as well. Mikage's a 9. The Calamitus. Oh, the Calamitus, man. He got a big boy buff, and now he's one of the hardest hitting, if not the hardest hitting attack base spirit champions in the game. He's a monster. The way I use him is quite different than what almost everybody else does. We'll talk about that in a moment here. He does have a ton of damage. He has a lot of debuffs on one ability, single target, right, on his base form, and then a hard hitting A3. But the highlight of his kit to me is what they did on his alternate form. They went in here, they fixed everything, right? They fixed the cooldowns, they fixed the damage. Fantastic buff to the Calamitus. He can absolutely smack. Both of these abilities, these AoEs, are some of the harder hitting out there in the game. They really are. He's amazing, especially in Hydra, because he has Hex and decreased defense, and he ignores Poison Cloud and Life Barrier, as well as ally protection. So he absolutely just smacks in any wave content. Whenever this champion is or attacks an enemy under Hex, he's healing himself as well. He's got a lot of self-sustain built into his kit. He looks freaking insanely good. I love the Calamitus. I'm going to give the Calamitus an 8.5. Now, I have him built quite differently, as you'll see. I have Eagle Eye on him. I have Brimstone on him. Like, Ash, what are you doing? I have Arythi Coronet on him, which is a great blessing, or excuse me, relic for him anywhere you're using him. It's my favorite with all those debuffs that he places out. I have him in a shield set. Why? Because the Calamitus, I'll show you my Chimera team really quickly here. The Calamitus is on a Wixwell and Titus team, my main squad, and you guys can see it right here. So he's rocking this build because he needs to be my shield set champion, and he's playing the role of debuffer on my Chimera team with that A2. He brings a little bit of damage as well, but primarily he's bringing all those debuffs and the shield set for Wixwell and Titus to take advantage of. It's an unorthodox build. You have to have the team and the champions and everything else, but it's an effective build. We have Androc the Glorious. I love Androc. Good old Lionheart from the Bannerlords, man. He doesn't get a lot of love out there. A lot of hate, a lot of shade being thrown at Androc. But I like Androc. I got the Journal and the Krotos on him. He's one of the better turn meter boosters because on his passive, on his base form, critical hits inflicted by all allies fills the turn meter of all allies by 5%. Occurs once per skill. There's no cooldown. It's just once per skill. That's a ton of turn meter. In longer battles, it really does make him one of the best turn meter boosters inside the entire game. He's got this amazing 3 buff ability, potentially 4 buff ability. If the ally has less than 50% and a turn meter fill and a 3-turn cooldown, they buffed this ability. They buffed a bunch of his kit. He has an AoE with buff extension, making him a perfect complement to some of the strongest teams in the game, with Titus, Wixwell, etc. He has increased defense on all allies on his A1 ability, right? This is just his base form. On his alternate form, they changed and they gave him an enemy max HP ability. It didn't used to be enemy max HP. They just turned it into one. Fantastic. Buff removal on a 3-turn cooldown, block buffs as well, and AoE, decreased resistance, enfeeble, weaken, decreased turn meter. They gave him a really nice buff. He's got decreased defense on all enemies on his A1 as well. It is a 50% a chance there. Man, there's a lot to like about Androc. He even has stat increases, increase each ally's accuracy by 10 for each buff on all enemies. really strong. Each critical hit inflicted by allies decreased turn meter of all enemies by 5%. I like Androc a lot. I'm going to give him an 8. I think he's fantastic. Maybe an 8.5. I think that Androc is beautiful, and I have a 9-piece protection set on him. However, I do change builds a bit. This is not the build that I use on that team that I just showed you. I actually use Chimera 2. I use the Impulse and Merciless on him in that particular team. All right, Galleus Bloodcrest, the cock. All right, so what do we think of Galleus after the buff? Honestly, I don't use him a ton. Well, I do use him a ton, but he's not in some of my best gear, and this is going to be the case as we go down the list here, because you can absolutely critique some of these builds, because nowadays, I'm sure like a lot of you guys, I'm muling around my best artifact sets on the champions that I'm using at any particular given moment, right? So there's no need to have everybody in their final build like there was maybe, 6 months ago before free gear removal. He is amazing. I'm going to give him an 8. That's right, I'm giving him an 8. Why? Because he is, I think, underutilized and underappreciated after his buff, especially in this particular meta, both PvE and PvP. He's maybe a bit one-dimensional in PvE, to be fair, so that holds him back a tiny bit, I guess. But in terms of wave killing, in terms of just damage, this guy is an absolute monster. In the arena, he is a force to be reckoned with. They gave him a big buff. They gave him a revive on death and increased defense with an extra turn. They added that to his kit. He has an AoE provoke as well on his A2. He has a lot other things going on here, but I'm trying not to make it an hour long. But on his alternate form is where this champion really gets special, right? In the arena, this is an insanely good champion here, guys. Check out the Unholy Experiment, his passive. He can't be CC'd. That is so incredibly strong, especially right now in this meta. Also randomly resets the cooldown of one of this champion's skills whenever they kill an enemy. Occurs once per skill. That's a full cooldown, not just one turn. It's a full cooldown. All you got to do is kill one enemy, and he has 2 strong AoEs. He has an AoE, decreased defense, that can't be resisted. He's stealing turn meter from each enemy. He has decreased duration of all enemy buffs and ignore block damage. Damn it. I mean, come on, what do you want from this dude, right? He smacks, he ignores block damage, which is the meta. He decreased duration of all enemy buffs by 2 turns. I mean, polymorph proof, can't be CC, did I mention that? Come on, man, people sleep on this dude. They really do sleep on this dude in a big way. I said he can't be CC'd, and I mean it. I said polymorph proof, and it's irrelevant because he's immune to sheep. This dude's immune to sheep as well. Most of these you see, the immune to everything except for sheep. He's got it all. All right, so I have Helm Smasher on him. I have no Relic right now, and I have Soul Reap on him for a blessing. So yeah, strong 8. A strong 8 for Galleus. Nell! Oh, Nell's a very tough one to grade because she's very niche, but given where she shines, I'm going to give Nell a 9. Nell is so nasty right now. She's the tippity top of the meta in PvE. The only reason I'm not giving her even higher than a 9 is because of how fairly one-dimensional she is. She's a poison champion, a rack and elixir, but she's so incredibly unique and powerful, right? I have her built in Pinpoint, 1 feral piece for the 40 accuracy in Stone Skin. So 4-piece Stone Skin, 4-piece Pinpoint. Pretty important on Nell because she is a walking sheep magnet. Why is she so good? Blackteeth's Buffet. Her passive. Whenever an enemy receives a buff, is healed, or has their turn meter increased by a skill, places a big poison on them, and it will ignore block debuffs. That line, will ignore block debuffs, is what makes her really so special. I mean, there's a lot that makes her special, but especially that one. Increases champion's turn meter by 5% for each poison debuff placed by this skill. So that's an amazing skill. Siffy, Duchess, doesn't matter, You need a cleanser to deal with a Nell. If you have a block debuffs, it's useless. She comes in with this A2. She steals all buffs from all enemies. That alone is so powerful. But then she instantly activates 1 tick of all poison debuffs on all enemies and then puts them to sleep if they don't have poison. This is absolutely insane. It can end a match in 2 seconds. I have Lethal Dose. There's a blessing on her. And boy, do I wish I had her fully awakened because Lethal Dose is super strong at 6 stars, ignoring resistance. It's tough to build her because you want speed. You don't need speed, but you want want speed, you know? It's kind of one of those things where you want her to place a lot of poisons, so you got to give her a little bit of time, and then you want to come in and steal all buffs. So you kind of want the enemies to go first, obviously, when you're running Nell, but you don't want her to be too slow either. Arakan Elixir is a must on her, whereas poison debuffs deal bonus damage equal to 50% of the wearer's attack, but we can easily get that up over 100%. That's nasty. Because of that, attack is the main stat that we want to focus on here. Now, it is kind of a bummer, because with Nell on her alternate form, which we haven't even spoken about, she becomes a freaking damage dealer, right? Not the best in the game. She looks freaky as all hell, too. If the target's killed with her decently hard-hitting A2, it instantly activates her AoE. But the cool thing about her alternate form is the passive. Each debuff placed by this champion in either form increases their HP, attack, and defense by 2% up to 50%. Speed by 2 up to 50 in her alternate form. Whenever she kills an enemy using a skill, she gets an extra turn. This makes up for her lack of overall damage. That escalating, you can just chill in her regular form, wait for her to power up, and then bam, take her out, right? Or take her into this form and then just wreak havoc. Now, unfortunately, with my build, even though I love it, I don't, you know, I need to work on it. I think I need to put crit rate on the gauntlets instead of the attack, but it sucks to give up all that attack as well, right? Because of the Arakan Elixir. But I do want some crit rate on her because it's tough. I do want to utilize her alternate form. I'm just not that much on my account right now. I have Eagle Eye as a mastery. So yeah, I mean, I love me some Nell. Starsage Galathir. Starsage, man. This dude is a monster. He's a 10 out of 10. He's a 10 out of 10. He and Siegfrund, I would say, are going to be my, maybe another one. Listen, it's not a shock to anybody that Starsage freaking Galathir is going to be one of the more powerful mythicals on my account. He has turn meter increase, on his AoE on the A1. He's got one of the better cleanses in the game with a big boy heal based on his max HP, a cleanse, a block debuffs. He's got a great revive with a perfect veil. He's got the freaking fail safe to keep him alive, preempt death on this passive. I mean, he's got everything you want. I have him 6-star awakened, and I have Life Harvest on him. There's a lot of revivers in the meta, and Life Harvest is one of the more underrated blessings out there in the game. At fully maxed out, we destroy enemies' max HP by 40% when they come back vis-a-vis a revival. Fills 30% of this champion's turn meter at the same time. I really love Life Harvest. I've tried out Temporal Chains. I've tried out Polymorph on him as well. All of them are perfectly viable. I like Life Harvest. I have Hallowed Hilt on him. Whenever the wearer heals an ally with an active skill, he's got the Fervor buff as well. I do have some damage mitigation built on here as well. I do want that speed from the Hallowed Hilt. It's a beautiful mythical relic for Starsage Galathir. On his alternate form, he becomes one of the best control champions in the game. You can mitigate mythicals and everybody else for that matter with buff removal and block active skills. Doesn't trigger counterattacks. He's got the stun with the decreased resistance. I mean, it's insane. This guy's just busted. He increases his accuracy based on his resistance, so you just build him with a ton of resistance. If this enemy's accuracy is higher than this champion's resistance, then he can transfer CC debuffs back to him. He is a special and just insanely good champion. And of course, my favorite build for Starsage by a mile is Relentless and Stone Skin. I don't have him as fast as some of Starsage Galathirs out there. He is still pretty fast, but I have 719 on his resistance, which is helpful. That way he's never resisted on his alternate form. I have a decent amount of HP on him and some speed. It's kind of a hybrid build, I would say, on Starsage Galathir. We talked about Hallowed Hilt and Life Harvest as well. Starsage Galathir is a 10 out of 10. Toshiro the Bloody. It's funny, when I got Titus, Toshiro was sent to the retirement home on my account. I kid. I still use Toshiro a lot. I use him certainly in Faction Wars and Centranos, but he's not much of a PvP champion, which is my main focus, obviously, on my endgame account. But he used to be my Chimera stud on the Mikage team. Now I have Titus and Wixwell, right? So I actually still use him, obviously, in Hydra Clan Boss. It's funny. I sound like I'm like taking shots at Toshiro. I certainly don't intend to. He's so good because he deals so much damage. Absolutely insane with this AoE, and he brings his own decreased defense on an AoE with a leech. Very, very strong. His Sanguine Darts powers up his attack, right? Up to 100% extra attack and HP. He has 2 sources of damage as well. He can go in with one of the hardest hitting attack-based nukes in the game on an A1, and that synergizes beautifully with Lady Mikage when he, as a Shadowkin champion, can join in the attacks. So incredibly strong. The knock on this dude, though, is his alternate form. His alternate form is nifty and all. You know, I used to switch to it on Ram to keep him alive because it just doesn't deal that much damage, honestly. None of his moves, they're all right, but nothing crazy. He does have decreased speed with the extra turns. He heals allies as well. Becomes kind of a healer. I love this A1. Increase the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn on an AoE. It's really nice. He looks so incredible, but honestly, I don't really use it because the damage just absolutely pales in comparison to his first form. Nature's Wrath is the best blessing for Toshiro the Bloody. Get that extra damage up to 30%. It actually kind of like, it combos nicely with his Sanguine Darts as well, or Sanguine. I already had them in the build that I used. When you already have a champion that can ignore 100% defense, you can go with Flawless Execution instead of the Helm Smasher. So I had Flawless on him. He was doing so much damage. I don't have him on the geared up right now, but one tip on Toshiro, if your Toshiro isn't doing a ton of damage, slow him down a little bit if you're running him on a Mikage team, because a lot of that damage is going to come from the A1, and he'll be joining in on the attacks anyway. I don't say slow him down. We still want him as fast as possible, but what I mean is maybe try out attack percentage on those boots, still try to put good speed on the rest of the gear, but you might be impressed more with the damage that he's able to put out in aggregate overall, especially in longer battles if he's paired with a Mikage. Erithi Coronet is going to be the best relic for Toshiro the Bloody. I think Toshiro's an 8. An 8. Very good in PvE still, not the best anymore in PvE, and not that used in PvP. So maybe a 7.5, maybe an 8. Night Queen Krixia. I love me some Night Queen Krixia. She's fantastic. She really is. She's very niche compared to a lot of these champions, right? But she's kind of like Yumeko split into 2 champions and then some, right? Which can have its benefits and also its downsides as well. She has buff removal and a cooldown reset by 3 turns on enemy teams. Very, very nice. It is very reminiscent or very similar to Fabian's, right? A3 ability. But what's crazy is Fabian's so damn good that some players even use Fabian over Night Queen Krixia because of the rest of his kit, right? All those fears and true fears against revivers and whatnot. And I've kind of jockeyed between the two as well. I hate to pick and choose here, but part of the issue is they both really want and ask for the same sort of builds, right? I think that Night Queen Krixia is tremendous, though. I've been using her a lot more lately, but she's not a champion that you're going to have a core part of every battle, right? You got to see what your opponents draft first and decide the arena, see if they don't go with a lot of mythicals, and then go with Night Queen Krixia. She can also be used as a counterbalance to other teams with a lockout champion, because on her alternate form, as a mythical, you just switch her right over. She can cleanse and decrease the duration of all ally skills by 3 turns. With that cleanse is beautiful, right? Your team gets CC'd. The nice thing is, too, is she's immune to stuns. So even against like an Armand, the rest of the team gets CC'd. It's okay. You swap forms. She's immune to sleep on this form, by the way. You go in, you cleanse, or you can turn meter boost by 20% with a block debuffs and increased resistance, right? She's got a really nice kit, beautiful synergy here, and I have her built, like I said, just as I would Fabian, with temporal chains here at 6-star awakening. Very, very strong. Allows her to cut in line quite a bit, especially when you parlay that with supersonic set. Fills his champion's turn meter by 2% each time an enemy receives a buff. I have her at 411 speed, but she gets those big speed boosts as well from, again, the temporal chains with the supersonic set. I have a Wand of Submission on Night Queen Krixia, and I have Eagle Eye as my tier 6 mastery. I'll give Night Queen Krixia an 8.5. Mezomel Luperfang. Good old Mez. I think that Mezomel Luperfang is one of the weaker mythical champions in the game, only because she's very one-dimensional, but she's actually really good at that one dimension that she brings. So she's a tough champion to grade out, but I'm going to give her a 7 out of 10. She's really good at what she does, I guess, right? I think I've made my point. An amazing ability on her A2, but she self-buffs with her A3, and then with the A2, she ignores Stone Skin and has a block revive. Okay, she ignores Stone Skin, Strength, and Ally Protection and Shield. A knock on her, though, is there's no ignore block damage here. I really love block damage, as well, especially against the Naime meta that we're in right now. I have Crushing Rend on her at 6 stars just to get that extra ignore defense. Bringing it up to 21 is kind of meaningful even in the arena, especially when you're trying to pop somebody off, because this Scarlet Crescent, you get one shot at it and you need to use it and you need to kill somebody, right? She's a big punch out the gate, right? She brings her own crit rate as well, so you can build her with a 70% crit rate, especially if you're mainly just relying on her that A2 as part of your strategy. But on her alternate form, she's one of the best out there, right? She's not quite as strong as maybe a Calamitus in terms of her damage, but she's not that far off. She has 2 AoEs, a very simple kit here. AoE 2-time hitter with True Fear, but it ignores block damage on her alternate form. So even though she lacks it on the block revive, she has a big, strong AoE that ignores not only block damage, but also unkillable. This can come in very handy in the arena, especially in this meta, which is why I still like her. She has a strong AoE on the A1 as well. That's it. She's one of the more simplistic mythical kits. I think probably the most simplistic, in my opinion, out of every mythical in the game. I have her built like kind of fast. I don't have her crit cap because she brings her own increased crit rate, and I mainly use her right now in Cintranos on my account. I have Crushing Rend I already talked about, and I have a Gore Crescent on her. Gore Crescent is really good, whereas next attack after killing an enemy deals extra damage. Now, she's not a traditional because she didn't have the extra turn mechanic when she kills somebody for Gore Crescent, like a Georgid or something like that. But what I do love about it is you can pop somebody off with that A2, you know, and then she has on her base form, and then she has the utility of switching forms and boom, strong AoE with extra damage after you're almost always killing somebody with that A2. So Gore Crescent is my relic of choice on Mezomel. Let's keep it going with Polara Fireheart. Ooh, I'm going to offend a lot of people on this one because people hate Polara Fireheart, and I can understand why. I've talked about this before, but listen, when you get Lydia, she changes your account, and at the appropriate time, like just when you're about ready to finish Faction Wars on your account, you're going to get your hands on Lydia, and you're going to be so freaking excited. She's going to be a game changer for you, right? Polara's not that. By the time that you get Polara, it's like the Doom Tower problem, right? Half those damn champions are really cool. Vassal of the Seal, not a bad kit. Bossatha, pretty solid. But when you get them, it's like, dude, I'm good. I've been playing for 2 years. I don't need Vassal of the Seal, you know? Even though you can still use them in some areas, to be fair. Cintranos, I still use them. Now, in a vacuum, I'm not going to hold it against her how hard she is to get. And maybe that's unfair, you can agree or disagree, but at least I'm telling you out the gate. That being said, I give her a 7.5 out of 10. 7.5. She's really cool. She doesn't deal quite enough damage on this ability, but it is a really, a decently hard-hitting ability, right? It's no Embrys or anything like that, but it hits pretty hard. But what's more is it ignores block damage, shield, and unkillable, right? Which, again, makes her very viable in the meta. If they're under a burn or a freeze, it also blocks their revive. Her A2 doesn't hit that hard, even though it ignores defense, which is a bummer. She awkwardly scales her damage off of defense and attack. We like having 2 sources of damage, but it's kind of weird on a champion that's mainly defense to have to add the attack in, at least for me. Her base form is kind of like a 7 out of 10-ish. And then on her alternate form, well, I guess it's kind of like a 7 out of 10-ish. So 6.5, 7 out of 10. I like her, though, because she has an AoE intercept and an AoE freeze that can't be resisted on a 3-turn cooldown that also does some nice damage, right? So this is a really strong A3. The AoE intercept on your allies, the freeze on your enemies, you can't ask for a lot more on that ability. And then she benefits from the intercept as well, right? She has block debuffs and a strengthen and a snare on all enemies. And then she has ally protection mechanic on her A1. What's cool about her on her alternate form is she has this revive mechanic. Once per round, revives each ally, including this champion, with 100% HP and a freeze on them, right? The freeze can't be resisted or blocked, but they'll also mitigate 90% of damage when they're under that freeze. I love that revival mechanic that she has in her kit. It's pretty damn good, you know? The freeze, by the way, it can't be resisted or blocked, but it can be cleansed as well, which is noteworthy. So you put it all together, you're looking at a very interesting, unorthodox champion. She has some things to like, some things that you want a little bit more out of. I do think they should buff Polara Fireheart because, listen, a 7 out of 10 is still good. Frankly, I use her as kind of an MVP candidate in some Siege battles lately. I've been using her a lot in Siege. Listen, you get a champion from Faction Wars hard, you want her to, and I use her in like Cintranos and stuff too, but like outside of that, you know, she should be a menace, a beast in PvP at least, right? Considering she is the end goal in Raid Shadow Legends. She's just not that, unfortunately. I have Soul Reap on her, and I have Helm Smasher on her. I have her at a 5-star Awakened. I have her in Savage and Stone Skin gear, and not in my best gear on my account, but still not bad when you look at the stats. Again, kind of awkward to get the attack and the defense on her. Not a bad build, though, now that I look at it. It's all right, you know. Let's keep it going here with Lady Mikage number 2. Lady Mikage number 2 I just have on a Fire Knight team, so I don't have any special gear on her, just speed, and I have her the speed that she needs to be. I threw on a good old Hatter's Reserve just for some survivability, and you know she's on a Fire Knight team when you see that Phantom Touch on there. So I decided to build 2 Mikages versus empower her. I would advise you guys do the same. These champions like Mikage who have such versatility, I would just build 2. Even with free gear removal, I think you get more bang for your buck on 2 Mikages. I say this about Mikage, by the way, because she's a fusion, so a lot of people go for the fusion, and then you might pull her out of a primal Revenant summon. I would build 2. Aphidus the Hivelord. This is a polarizing champion. Some people love this dude, some people hate this dude. I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. I like him more than Polara, but not a ton more than Polara. That being said, it's not a knock on him. I think he's a great champion. I really do. Maybe an 8 out of 10. I don't know. I mean, this is hard. What can I say? He's got an increased attack on all allies, which I love. I love when my nuker brings an increased attack for everybody. It's really nice, right? One little check mark off of the box, or one box of check mark that I don't need from other champions. Kind of, you get what I'm saying, right? I can't talk. Bear with me. All right, we have some ignore defense under the burn. He's got burns and burn activations. He's got a decent amount of damage. He's not like elite tier, but it's good damage on his base form here, especially to enemies susceptible to burn. He's very good in Hydra clan boss as well. Escalating decreased defense for his burns place. So again, in Hydra, in longer battles, he's going to get even better. And then on his alternate form, he's one of these mythicals that really has the biggest divide in some ways between his base and his alternate form, right? On his alternate, the Hivelord brings some support and a lot of control. Strength and increased defense on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. Placing a provoke, an AoE stun, 2 continuous heals on all allies. Really freaking solid. The only knock on his alternate form, at least for me, is those base stats kind of suck. He's not very tanky. The 1498 defense isn't bad, but look at that HP. I wish they buffed his stats a bit on that alternate form to really make him a Hulk. One other thing I'd like on his alternate form is maybe a little bit more in terms of his own survivability, right? Like maybe giving him a fail-safe death mechanic, or I don't know, something, because he is, you combine the squishiness, he's an interesting champion, but I find that this alternate form is just S tier and wave content. But outside that, I'm really not switching it to it that often, right? So what do you guys think of Aphidus, the Hivelord? I hope I've been fair to him, because I actually do like this champion, but I just don't think he's one of the more powerful mythicals in the game. And I know that some people love this dude and some people hate this dude. I think the truth is he's a good, but not S-tier mythical. Molten Deathbell is what I have on him, kind of just throwing something on there for a little bit of accuracy, to be honest with you guys. And I don't have him in a build right now. I mule around. Usually I just throw on, the way that I use him on my account, I just throw on a Savage Cruel set on him, and I use him mainly in his base form. Even if I throw this set on him, I can still use him in wave content, and he's still going to land against wave PvE content. He's still going to land his controlled debuff, so he's going to be good to go. I think 8 is fair for Aphidus. Karnage the Anarch. Ooh, Carney. Dude, Karnage is a monster. He's a beast. I really love Karnage. He's grown on me, you know, because in the beginning, I think like a lot of players, you see, oh my word, this dude has 1960 base attack. Holy moly! You think he's going to be the best nuker ever to grace Teleria in Raid Shadow Legends, and he's just not. He deals good damage, though, don't get me wrong. But really, this base form is what makes him so incredibly unique, right? I'm going to give Karnage the Anarch a 9 out of 10. He's that good. He really is. He's used all over end-to-end endgame and PvP, and he's one of the most effective, if not the most effective, block passive skills champion in the game. It can't be removed, which is so incredibly strong. When you think about this game and the meta and how it's evolved in terms of power creep over the years, it's all about passive passive skills, and Karnage has the best ability. He also has buff removal, he has Turn Meter Steal, and he has counterattacks for days. He's got debuff spreads. He's got so many unique things all packed into one base form. That's what gives him a 9 out of 10. On his alternate form, though, he can smack and he can block revive if they have 3 different debuffs on them, which isn't necessarily easy at all times. It's circumstantial, but he can deal some nice damage. He ignores ally protection on enemies under 1 or more debuffs, unkillable under 2, and shield. His damage scales with his accuracy as well, which is nice to have. We really benefit tremendously from accuracy because we need it for the debuffs, the buff steals, the turn meter steals, but we also need it for his damage, which is really, really nice. That allows you to go Eagle Eye on him or Helm Smasher. Both are totally viable options. I have Polymorph on him as a blessing, and I have Temporal Stagnator on him as a relic. I love Temporal Stagnator on Karnage, where has a 20% chance to remove, steal, or convert buffs or increase a skill's cooldown when landing a weak hit. So he can steal buffs even against blue affinity, magic affinity, right? Which is nice. I mainly love it because he benefits so much from accuracy and speed on the stats there. So I think it's a good option for him. It's maybe not the best, but it's solid. And I didn't have another obvious choice on, well, I guess I did have some obvious choices, but I liked it on him. The build, I need to change my Karnage the Anarch's build. I'm not too pleased with this build. It's all right. He's not fast enough. He's at 300 speed, but I like him really fast personally. He's under Stone Skin and Pinpoint, which is totally viable, totally fine, but I need to build them as more of a damage dealer. I'm leaving way too much utility off the table by not having him more optimized for damage. So I've kind of played around with a bunch of builds, but I think the best build for him is going to be Swift Parry, a lot faster with a little bit more oomph on his nukes because of all of those counterattacks. So don't hold my build against Karnage. He is a 9 out of 10. It's Embrys the Anomaly. My favorite mythical champion. Maybe I'm biased. I give him a 10 out of 10. I give Embrys a 10 out of 10. Listen, he's better in PvE than he is in, PvP than he is in PvE, in my opinion. That being said, he's still very good in PvE. I use him all over. Anytime I can use Embrys, I use Embrys because I think he has the most beautiful kit design in all of Raid Shadow Legends. I truly believe that. I have him built in Stone Skin and Lethal. Nothing too crazy or unorthodox. I have him all right stats, you know, honestly. As low accuracy as humanly possible is imperative when building Embrys for his alternate form, even though his damage does have an accuracy modifier for multiplication of the skill damage. You still want to build him low. Crit rate, over-capped here. Crit damage could do better here. He's nice and fast at 291. I try to get all my damage dealers as close as possible to 300 speed in the arena. It's tough to do because you want so much on these damage dealers, but you know, TLDR, I'm not enamored by the stats that we have here. On his alternate form, it's a little bit better. 116, 305, 107k on the HP, 285 on the speed. But this guy's kit is what makes him so good. Wand of Submission is the best relic for Embrys the Anomaly, at least out of Mythicals excluded. And this kit is so beautiful, man. He's got the Stone Skin removal. He's got the Necrosis. He's got the extra turn mechanic with True Fear, decrease attack. You can use this ability, just be careful of Polymorph. Sometimes it's better just to pass it up in the arena. And then you switch over and you get this just absolute monster powerhouse who can change the complexity of any arena match in your favor or the opponents if you're going against them, right? He's got to be the most popular PvP champion, partially because he's somewhat accessible, but he's an absolute just menace. He's insane. He's got one of the most lethal and just biggest overall threats in the arena with the block revive on his hard hitting A1, extra hit if they're under necrosis. This can end a match in one A1 move. Even if you put his cooldowns on his alternate form, he can still ruin your day. Atomize, one of the hardest hitting nukes out there, especially for an HP-based tanky champion. This deals double damage on enemies whose accuracy is lower than this champion's accuracy. That's nice, but we want the we want the ignore 50% of defense instead on enemies whose accuracy is equal to or higher than this champion. That's why we want it nice and low, right? We want the Siffies even to have more accuracy than him. Then he has an extra turn where he swaps HP. So even if you're healthy, you're still at risk of being put down for life with his A1. Because if he's low HP, he swaps his HP, he increases his ignore defense, which is insane, by 10%, and then up to 50%, by the way. That's nuts. And then he can still put you down. I mean, just, he comes back to life. Did I mention? He comes back to life and reflects the damage back. You can die just trying to kill Embrys. Man, he's nasty. He is nasty. I have Life Harvest on him, but I'm going to get rid of it. I don't think it's the best. I think I should just go Soul Reap or something like that on Embrys. You could even go Crushing Rend on Embrys. I have Helm Smasher on him for a tier 6, and I have him built to be a nuker, and he's amazing. I love him. He's a 10. Even in PvE, like, he doesn't excel against any bosses, but he can deal a hell of a lot of damage. He can on his alternate form, and then you can abuse just his base form, right? Just True Fearing, decrease attacking, AoE on his A1. He can deal some nice damage for you. So I love Embrys. He's a beast. Gizmak the Terrible is very good. Don't hold the build against him. This is an old build, but I muled my artifacts around when I want to use me some Gizmak. I don't mind the pinpoint in the stone skin. This is my favorite artifact sets for him. It's just not the best gear on him. I need him to be a little bit more of a nuker than he is on this particular build, right? He's got a 115 base speed. Well, you guys can see the stats here. On his alternate form where he's a damage dealer, he's not packing enough of a punch here for me. But let's go over his kit, what makes him so freaking good. Orb of Transfixion, you can kind of ignore that. I need to go in there and do some work with my boy Gizmak. He's got the blessing, though. I mean, the Incinerate is so freaking good. I wish I had him fully ascended, because Incinerate was one of the more powerful 6-star blessings out there in the game, where you can decrease enemies' turn meter when they receive damage from burns. My man Gizmak is dropping burns at the start of a round. So you're just getting that turn meter decrease. Is one of the most powerful combos out there. I wish I had it at 6-star Incinerate, which is, regardless, the best blessing by a mile for Gizmak the Terrible. As long as he has 100% crit rate, which, again, don't hold my build against him. He does have it, but it's pretty lousy outside of that. 100% crit rate is the most important stat for Gizmak, because everything becomes irresistible, right? He is an entire team beautiful buff, increased crit rate, crit damage, and increased speed. With the extra turn, 3-turn duration, he can go in and activate the burns that he's placing at the beginning of the round of the turn anyway. He can pop Stone Skin. He's super fast. Or you can go into this beautiful synergy on his alternate form where BAM! Or kaboom! There we go. He can go in with the decreased defense, the hard-hitting attack, can't resist the increased defense, and then the most beautiful thing is his passive, right? Will ignore block damage and shield when attacking enemies under HP burns. Will ignore 15% of the target's defense if this champion's HP or the target's HP is equal to or greater than 50%. So he has a lot of damage escalation, a lot of ignore built into his passive. He has this hard-hitting attack. Extra turn again if you kill an enemy. I love the chain reaction of everything Gizmak can do. You buff the whole team, you take the extra turn. You switch to his alternate form, you take that extra turn. You go in here, you smack him down, you kill somebody. You take another extra turn. You go into Ungodly Fury. This is going to put a taunt on him, an unkillable on him, an ally protection on the rest of your allies, and you're going to pain link the enemy. That makes him viable also for Chimera Trials. This guy really has it all. I'm going to give him a 9.5. Should probably just give him a 10. Last, but certainly not least, is Gharol Bloodmaul. What did I give Mezomel? 6.5? Man, these orcs, they always get the raw deal in this game. I'm going to offend everybody, and I'm going to give Gharol my worst score. I'm going to give her a 6.5. She's not my favorite mythical champion. I have 2 of her. I have 2 of her built, too. Well, no, I mean, kind of built, you know what I'm saying? Like masteries, you know? Gharol's not bad. She's not trash, first of all. She actually might be low-key for mid-game, early game. She might be one of the best mythicals. So it just goes to show that it depends on where you are, what you have on your account in terms of what's going to benefit you, right? So take that into consideration. Don't hold anything I say completely against or for a champion. I'm looking at it through my lens, right? Because for beginners or mid-game, if you can get a Gharol Bloodmaul, you have so much. Ally protection, block buffs on your team. You get a big shield. You got a provoker. She brings her own survivability in the unkillable. She has increasing skill cooldown on her A1. She has a decreasing duration of all buffs on the attacker. A nice Not OP, but a nice base form with some good stats, good survivability, right? And then when you switch over, this is the form that I'm most acquainted with on my account, she becomes kind of like a Mezomel in terms of her damage with 2 AoEs on her A1, A2, pretty simple to understand, but better than Mezomel, arguably, because of the passive and the A1. The A1 has a chance of repeating the attack, a 1 in 5 shot, and then the passive, whenever an ally attacks, she has a 25% chance to join in with that hard-hitting AoE. And she has a damage increases as this champion's HP decreases. So you play your cards right, you can end up getting a lot of damage. And you can build her slow as a nuker. She has attack-based multipliers, by the way, on her alternate form. So you build her with a lot of attack percentage on the boots, and she's going to be repeating attacks and joining in attacks without having to have her fast at all. So you can just focus on getting that damage up. Even though she deals a lot of damage, she's not like the most elite damage dealer on her alternate form, but still really, really solid, right? But no like Calamitus. I guess kind of one-dimensional, right? Because it's very tough to build a team anywhere, really, that's going to rely on this hodgepodge of skills. She's probably the most different champion in her 2 forms, right? I guess Starsage is too. I guess a few others are, but it's weird. It's hard to build her as a high accuracy provoker, right? With enough survivability to be able to stay alive. I mean, unkillable is nice, but it can be removed. And an ally protector, you just want her to be really tanky, but then you want her to be a high attack nuker on her alternate form. So it's kind of more of a one or the other with her. Unlike a lot of other mythicals, they at least have those passives that help increase the stats that you need on those forms. For those reasons, I don't love her design, frankly, as compared to any other mythical on the list. So we're ending on a low note here. That being said, you pull any mythical, you're going to be able to use them. Like, I still use Gharol. She's still not an awful champion, but there it is, guys. Those are all the mythicals that I have on my account. Stay tuned, because we're going to pull some primal shards. We're going to get some more, and we're going to update this video in a year. Thank you so much for watching. Check out my Ash Reads channel, Chapter in Ash, in the description, in the pinned comment as well. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.